hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have neutral fall Dollar Tree DIYs for you because sometimes you don't like all those bright colors for fall and you like more of a neutral color scheme, so that's what we're going for with these DIYs. We're going to start with one of these wood wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I love these. It's like an MDF wood. And one of the grass skirts from the summer section. So this is the adult size. And what I'm going to do is just cut it in half. One grass skirt, one adult size grass skirt is enough to make the entire wreath. I had some of these left over from my luau party video. So I am just going to kind of gather it together at the top, just to kind of bunch it together. And then what I need to do is cut it into thirds. So I just kind of group it together here at the top. And then I'm going to kind of try to fold it to kind of estimate like what a third would be. I'm not really going to measure it or anything like that. I'm just going to guess. That looks about good. So I'm just going to bundle it together. And I did cut that in half, remember. So I only have half of the grass skirt right now. I'm going to cut the twine from the waistband. And so then the second piece, I'll just have to cut that in half. So I have 3 bundles. And this is a great way to get raffia. It's really easy. And I've used this technique before to make a coastal wreath. And I actually liked doing it this way a little bit better than I did it last time because I like this wreath form a little bit better. I'm just going to take a zip tie, take that bundle, and about halfway up, I am just going to zip tie it to the wreath form, kind of letting it go off to the sides along the wreath. And then you can just kind of crinkle it, bunch it up if you want to kind of make it look more like raffia and less like a grass skirt. So my second bundle, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, if you can't find this wreath form, sometimes I can't find this at Dollar Tree. You can use the metal wreath forms. I've done it with the metal one with like the 3 wires. Because once you kind of puff it up like this, you wouldn't be able to see. You could just do like the middle bar. It would totally work, but I think it was easier to do it on this one. So this is the third bundle. And as you can see, that covers half of it. So the other half of the grass skirt is going to be plenty. And you want it to overlap slightly. And then you can just kind of squish it, mix it. I wanted to make it look kind of crazy like raffia. So the more you kind of mess with it, the better. So this is the other half of the grass skirt. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the twine from the waist, kind of estimate about like what a third would be. You only have to really measure that first one because then the second part, you can just cut this part in half, just fold it in half and cut it. And we have 3 more bunches for this wreath. This is going to be a really easy fall wreath with the neutral color decor, and I really like how it turned out. It was so easy to put together. I always look for easy ways to make wreaths because sometimes they can be really time consuming. I know some people take these and tie these all individually, like 3 at a time, to kind of go out towards the side, and you could do that. I'm sure it would look really pretty, but it's going to take you a long time to do it that way. So here is our 5th bundle, and we have 1 more left. As you can see, it's nice and fluffy and full, and it's a fairly large wreath form. It's definitely big enough for your front door. So here is the last one, and I'm just using zip ties from the hardware section at Dollar Tree, and I was using the smaller ones just so they will be a little bit less obvious, but you really can't see anything once you fluff up all of this raffia and kind of blend it in together. Now it's time to decorate it. So I wanted neutral. So this is what I'm going to use from Dollar Tree to decorate it. I did not want to make a bow. I wanted to see if I could decorate it another way. And so we're going to start with some of the burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. Now these have wires on them, which comes in handy. I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm just going to kind of find a place here in the bottom left corner, and between bundles of the raffia, I just wire that around the wreath form. And then I'm going to do the same thing with my second one. I'm going to do a total of 3 just because I think it's going to look better with odd numbers. And kind of have one of the maple leaf like pointing out each direction. And this is going to be kind of the base for the decor that we're going to add to it. And the fact that those were already attached to wire really came in handy. Now, these are the fall leaves that I'm going to use to decorate. This is like a color that's really similar to the grass skirt and then kind of a brownish color. And when you pull them off, they're like both connected to the same piece. So I'm just going to leave them on there. And for the first row, I'm going to do a total of 3, kind of like that. I'm actually going to use a zip tie to attach them because they do have the little hole from the stem in here. And I thought I could just take one of these small zip ties and just feed them through. So just kind of going in the same direction, I'm just going to stack those on that zip tie, and then I can just go around the same place. I kind of attach the leaves here and zip tie that in place. And then just kind of arrange them the way that I want them to look. I do want to do another layer of those to add some more depth to it since we're not doing a bow or anything like that. So I'm going to use 2 more of the sprigs. I'm not going to use any of the berries that were on this one. But I think 2 more is going to finish it off really nicely. So just like I did with the first row, I take one of the small zip ties from the Dollar Tree and just feed them on, both going the same direction, and attach that to the wreath form as well. Zip ties and wreaths are definitely the way to go. It's so easy and really secure. So I just kind of arrange these how I want them to lay. And then I want to decorate them with some pumpkins. These are the ones with wires on them, so that's going to come in handy too. And I chose the ivory color of the small pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. And since I like to work in odd numbers, I'm going to do a total of 3. Kind of do them all at once. The wire on these is not super long, but it is long enough to go around this wreath form. I just kind of feed it around in the same place that I did all of the others and wire it to it. Easy peasy, and I think it looks really cute. And again, it's going to be down on the bottom left corner like this where I have the fall leaves, and I think it was a really nice fall touch to add to this, and I'm so glad I decided to make one of these grass skirt wreaths for fall because I really think it goes great with that. If you had any like faux corn or anything like that, that could look really good on it as well. And then I just take some twine here at the top and I am just going to knot off a little loop here to make a very simple little wreath hanger that I'm going to kind of hide down inside the grass skirt where you won't be able to see it. And this DIY is complete. I think it's really pretty, especially if you have like a color or a dark front door. I think the contrast of this light color is going to look really good on it. It looks like raffia. Looks really cool. I don't think you can really even tell that it was a grass skirt, right? So a fun way to use those grass skirts for a fall DIY, and really one of the easiest ways I've ever made a wreath. It's just so easy to put together. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video? If you are, be sure to hit the like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, the next DIY, I want to make a stone tree for fall. So I got some stones from the Dollar Tree, some craft wood from the Dollar Tree, and a stick from my yard. And I am going to make a fall tree scene where the stones are actually the leaves. So these stones from the Dollar Tree, they were all kind of dusty. You couldn't really see the colors, and I thought they'd probably be nice colors, and they really are. They just need a little bit of cleaning. So I'm just going to wash them in some water here, and as you can see, there's all different colors of stones in there. If you had a way to polish them, they would be even prettier, but I think washing them is going to be enough for me. What I want is pebbles, all different colors, to represent the leaves changing colors on the tree, because the rocks are actually going to be my leaves for my fall tree. So I just rinse them just in plain water, nothing fancy, just to get the dust off of them, exposing these pretty colors, and they are really shiny. And I think they look so much better, right? So I got a stick from my yard, which is kind of hard to find because I've made that joke before. We only have palm trees in our yard, so the only way I can find a stick is if it falls in our yard, like from a neighbor's tree. So I was lucky to find a stick there I'm going to use for the tree. And then I got 2 pieces of this craft wood from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put them together and make a fun fall sign. I want to stain them, but I don't want it to be very dark. So I mixed Antique Wax by Waverly with water so I can have a very thin stain so it will stain a lighter wood color so that that tree branch that I have there, that stick will be a little bit darker. You'll be able to see a contrast in colors. I didn't want this to be too dark. So mostly water with a little bit of Antique Wax by Waverly in there. And you can see that craft wood from the Dollar Tree has a great wood grain on there that looks great when you stain it. And I'm just going to kind of dry that off with a paper towel and see how that looks. It's looking pretty good. I really like kind of the pattern on there. I want it to look, like a tree. And I kind of want to mix up the way the wood grain looks. And I think that looks pretty good. I realized you could also see like the sides of this. So I'm going to go ahead and stain the sides of the craft wood as well. These always come with a smooth side. That's the side I'm going to use for the top. The other side is a little bit rough. And then I did another coat of stain on the top piece because I didn't think it stained quite as dark as the other one did. And just to kind of even that out. Now to put them together, I'm just going to use a bead of hot glue to connect the 2 pieces of craft wood together to make a large sign that's going to be the perfect size for what we're going to do with the little stone tree. I do want to have a hanger on the back, and I have just an old sawtooth hanger I have left over from another Dollar Tree project, I'm sure. I take these off the canvases all the time if I'm not going to use the canvas. And I just kind of center it on the back of the board and just simply hammer it in. Those are my favorite kind, no nails or anything like that, so that I can hang this piece on the wall. Okay, it's looking good, so we can start constructing our tree. This is the only branch I could find. It's not exactly what I wanted because I wanted it to be flat, but I thought I could cut it apart and make it work. So I'm just going to cut that piece off. The bottom piece there can be the tree, and then these can be like the branches sticking out to the side like that. But again, I want it to be flat, so I'm going to kind of cut it apart in pieces and put it back together. Therefore, all of the stick will be like glued down to the sign and not like sticking out. And I also want it to fit. So I cut that little branch down that size to be the top of the tree. And then cut down another piece to be a side. And that one too. And then just kind of arranging what kind of looks better. That looks maybe a little bit more symmetrical with the larger one on that side. And then we can just start putting this together. This was so easy to do, and I had so much fun making it. I'm just going to use some hot glue to glue the top stick down. I'm going to glue it all close together so it looks like the branch is kind of all still connected, even though I did kind of cut it into pieces to make it all flat and make it all work. And I decided that was a little bit, it just wasn't laying right. So I went ahead and cut that part off of it too to make sure that it laid flat. Again, I don't want it sticking out 3D too much. And I do kind of want the tree to be centered here too. So I'm going to use my ruler to help me and just hot glue this piece down. And then we can go with the rest of the branches, kind of gluing them all in place. Really easy to do. You could use wood glue. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue, which works pretty well for wood. And I'm actually going to use that for the stones too. It's pretty strong. I think it's going to be strong enough for this. And I am kind of cutting the branches at an angle so they will fit tightly up against the tree. So you won't see like a gap in between once I glue them down. And then we are going to add all of those pebbles to the tree to look like fall leaves, like a tree that's like lost half of its leaves. We're even going to have like leaves on the ground. Just a fun rustic sign to represent fall. So I like that one there. That's kind of where it came out before. And then this one, maybe I'll put it down a little bit so it's not super symmetrical. And so we have our entire tree in place. And so far, 3 things from the Dollar Tree. The rocks, the 2 pieces of craft wood, and the stick, of course, is free from your yard. Now, if you wanted to do a coastal version of this, you probably could with some driftwood, but you would have to find some really kind of skinny driftwood for it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start taking the stones and sorting them out. I want the colors to be different. I want them to be random, but I'm also looking for flat ones that are not broken, that will glue down well, like trying to put their flat side on the board so that I can glue it down. And I want them to look like leaves, like hanging off the tree. Not too full, but still relatively covered. And I really want to try to use as many colors as I can find. So I'm just laying them all out first until I'm happy with them, so I will know how I want to put it together. And I think that that looks pretty good. Now, if you had some colored stones, like some more like orangish or yellow stones, and you didn't want to do the neutral color scheme, you could do that as well. That would look really cool too. And just using a dot of hot glue under each one of the stones. I did let them dry so that I could glue them down. I'm just gluing them kind of like they would be hanging off the tree branches, but not necessarily touching them. But kind of tilted away from the branch if I can do that. And kind of leaves for all of the branches. I think it's looking really cute so far. And I'm just going to clean up some of the hot glue there that might have strung from all of the gluing of the stones on there. Then I thought, well, if it's fall, the leaves are going to be falling, right? So I'm going to need like some stones here for the bottom that's going to look like leaves on the ground. But then I thought it would be even cuter to add like some of the brown floral moss from the Dollar Tree to look like the forest floor. And it's going to go with the neutral color scheme too because it's brown. So I just put hot glue down here on half of it and glued that to it just in little bundles. It's a little messy to work with, but if you don't make it too thick and you glue it down pretty securely, I don't think you really have to worry about it. And I just go all the way across to make it look like, you know, it's not just the pebbles down there, to really give you that illusion of like a forest floor. I'm just going to trim up any excess moss that might have been sticking out and clean up any extra moss that is on my sign here, and we can go ahead and attach the stones here to the bottom. Now, I was asking my son for help. I was like, should I have like leaves falling from the tree since it's supposed to represent fall? And we went back and forth, but I think we came to the determination that that would look cool to have like some leaves like currently falling off the tree since it is a fall sign. So I'm going to do 2 on each side. Different colors and kind of different placements, very randomly, like they are falling through the sky. Just like that. And there it is, our little stone fall tree sign. I think it was so much fun to make, and it's really a unique piece for fall. And who knew that those Dollar Tree stones are so pretty? Once you wash them up, you can see they are all different colors and different types of rocks as well. I really like this project, and I think it is definitely one of my favorites that I made today. It was just so much fun to put together. Now, the next DIY, I wanted to see if I could cover a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin with some small animal bedding. So basically it's aspen wood shavings that you use for like hamsters, bunnies. It's like a bedding. It's really cheap. And I had some left over from a resin DIY that I did on my channel. And I looked high and low on the internet. I couldn't find anybody ever covering their pumpkin with wood shavings like this. And so I must be the first crazy one with this idea. I really love how it turned out. I thought it would look really rustic and neutral for fall. And so that's what we're going to do. I just pop the stem off the Dollar Tree white foam pumpkin because I want to replace that with something else. And I'm going to flip it over, remove the sticker from the bottom, and I'm going to try to do the bottom half of it first. So I wanted a really thick glue. So I'm using that Dollar Tree tacky glue because it's a really strong glue and it's thick. So I'm just going over the bottom half of the pumpkin because I wanted to do half at a time. Now, what I did find was that it might be easier to do the bottom, the top, and then the sides, because the sides is definitely kind of the hardest part to get it to stick to. But I thought I kind of like, like cooking, like if you're breading something. So I'm getting it wet. I filled up my paper plate full of the wood shavings, and I'm just going to kind of dip it in there and see what will stick. So I put the glue side of the pumpkin down into it, kind of roll it around, flip it over and see how much stuck. I mean, a good amount stuck, but you can still see a lot of the white foam pumpkin through it. So I just pick some up and make sure it sticks. And then I have to kind of manually put the sides on anyway. And I just pick up a little scoop at a time, sticking it to it the best that I can. Now, be prepared if you're going to make this. It is a messy project. It turned out amazing, but it was really messy. I do craft in my garage, so I'm not too concerned, but you might want to do this one outside for real. So I have the first coat on there. What I want to do now is to take like a spray glue, like one of these from the Dollar Tree, and spray glue on there so I can do like a second coat to cover it a little bit better and to maybe glue that down from the top. So I just use that spray glue and go over it to make it nice and wet with glue again. And we're just going to dip it in here one more time to see if we can make it thicker, and flip it over, kind of help by adding more to it, seeing what will stick to the bottom and to the sides. Now you do have to be careful touching it once you have them on there, because while it's super wet like that, they do fall off easily. I was thinking if I should mix the glue with the wood shavings before I put it on there, but I thought it would be so messy to do it that way. And then I didn't really know how I would get it to attach. So I'm doing it separately with the tacky glue on the foam first. So I'm doing the top and the sides of the top with another thick coat of tacky glue. The thicker you can get it, the better luck you're going to have. And then I sit it down inside there, try to get some to stick. But again, flipping it over and kind of forcing some down into the glue gets way better coverage. And then you have to do that again with the sides. Now this is a fragile piece. I do find a way to make it a little bit more durable here, you'll see. But this is my first round of gluing that on there. So I go over it again with some of the spray glue to kind of glue it on top and try to, make sure it stays on there. I'm going to add some more since I got it wet with the glue again. And you can see my biggest problem was the sides falling off. So you might want to do the bottom, the top, and then the sides because it just did not want to stick to the sides as much. Just some gravity not working in my favor. So I just go around and add glue, add more of the wood shavings to the side until I get pretty decent coverage. And I'm thinking that the spray glue is not strong enough, so I went back with just more tacky glue, and I'm not using my brush because I already have the wood shavings on there. I just squirted the tacky glue on there and then added more of the wood shavings to it and then sprayed the other glue on top. And that seemed to work a little bit better than just the spray glue. I don't know if the spray glue really did a lot, to be honest. I'm going to use a sealer here in a minute on it, and I think that did a lot better. The tacky glue worked way better than the other kind. So I just add more tacky glue, and as you can see, I told you it was going to be messy. I do kind of have wood chips everywhere. Luckily, I have my silicone mat down. But I have it pretty good and covered now, so I sprayed it with one more round of that glue to try to make sure everything is attached. And then I let it dry for a little bit. And now I'm going to go in and pick out one of these Dollar Tree wood stems to make a really fun little rustic pumpkin stem. I just kind of push that in to the foam from the top without really disturbing much on there. And now what I want to do is seal it. I have some of the Mod Podge sealer that comes in a can like this. I actually got this at Target, I believe. And it is a sealer, and you spray it on. Now, I was worried it was going to knock some of the wood off, and I had to be a little bit careful spraying it on here, but I'm really glad that I took this step because it made the wood shavings harder, and I really think they're going to stay in place more. So I let that sit for a couple hours with the Mod Podge sealer on there. Now everything seems dry, really well attached. I did want to make like a little tendril to go on the top of it. And so I'm actually going to use one of these little acorn picks from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to borrow a tendril off there. They're like wrapped in paper, so I thought that would be a nice brown color. I'm just going to wrap it around a paintbrush here to kind of make it a little bit smaller tendril. And I think it might need to be a little bit smaller. I'm going to shorten it a little bit. And I'm just going to stick that wire down into the top with the wood stem. I didn't really glue it in place. I just kind of used friction to hold those both into the top of the pumpkin. But this is how it turned out. My wood shavings pumpkin DIY. I was actually able to pull it off. As you can see, it's really cool. It is delicate. It's something that you're going to want to sit on a shelf and not mess with too much. But I think it turned out really cool. I just love all the texture and the colors of it. I think it's just really pretty for fall. What do you guys think about that? I thought it was crazy there for a minute. Now for the next DIY, we're going to make a fall floral using some of these beautiful eucalyptus that they got in Dollar Tree this year. I picked up 3 of them. And I'm using a glass bottle that I have from the Dollar Tree and some rope. I'm going to do the rope around the glass bottle to make a really neutral vase, a rope vase that we can decorate for fall. So the glass bottle is one of the ones from the Dollar Tree that had the little cork lights in it that I've used for other projects. So I have some of these glass bottles left over, and it's just about the right size. But you can use whatever kind of bottle or vase that you have. I like the fact that it's nice and fairly small, like diameter-wise. And I just take Dollar Tree rope. I just started hot gluing it right around the bottom. And once I wrapped it around, I just keep going. I'm going to have where I start and stop on the back of the vase. And so I'm going to try to keep any seams or anything like that back there. Now, normally I would just wrap a rope project with rope and I wouldn't bother gluing it. But since this is a glass vase, it's going to be standing up. I want to make sure that all of the rope is attached to it tightly. And so I just glue half of it and then go flip it over, glue the other half of it. Not every part of it has to be glued down, but I did want it to be glued down like twice per row. And this is the thinner brown rope at the Dollar Tree. I think it's pretty long. I think it's 13 feet, but I could be mistaken on that. But one package definitely went really far. I ended up having to use a total of 2 packages to make this. But I think the color of the rope is going to look really nicely with those eucalyptus. They have those in like the yellow, orange, lots of colors. I did a fall and Halloween Dollar Tree shopping haul on my video the other day. And you can see on there how many wonderful fall florals they have this year. So I made sure to stop it in the same place I started it so I can have my seam on the back. And I'm just starting my second package of rope. And I'm going to continue hot gluing it on here all the way to the very top. I want all of it covered. And then I want to use one of those leather fall tags from the Dollar Tree to decorate the vase as well for a fun fall decoration. And then we're going to fill them up with those beautiful like yellowish eucalyptus. I'm including them in the neutral colors because the color is nice and mild, nothing crazy, definitely goes with neutral decor. Once I get up here to the top, you can start going a little bit faster if you put more glue on there and wrap quickly while your hot glue is still wet. Again, I want the seam to be on the back where I've had all of my other seams, so I make sure to cut it right there and glue that down in place. Now I did use a lot of hot glue on that, so I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit to make sure that you can't see any. I also want to burn off any fuzzies from that Dollar Tree rope. So I just make sure everything is good and tight. You don't see any of the glass between the ropes, and burning off all of the fuzzies with a lighter is super easy to do. It's going to make your project look a little bit more professional. But to get the hot glue off, I find that my heat gun works the best for that. And I'm just going around and cleaning up any hot glue that you can see and kind of making it kind of disappear into the rope. For the fall tag, I'm going to choose this one with a pumpkin on there. And I'm going to hang it around the bottle kind of like that. It says harvest on it. I think that's going to be really cool. I do want it to be a little bit shorter, so I'm just going to untie it, tie it a little bit tighter so it'll hang exactly where I want it. And I kind of liked having the leather strap be kind of inside out. It just provided another shade of brown. I'm going to cut off the excess leather there. And then I do want to attach it here so it's not just hanging like that. And I want it to take the shape of the vase. So I just put a little bit of hot glue on the back and I'm going to glue that faux leather down to the rope. And there is our vase. Super cute, very neutral. And now we can fill it up with these eucalyptus. I really don't have to put anything in there. These are nice stems. They're nice and tall. So all I have to do is remove the tags on these and load up our vase. They're actually pretty high quality. I think Dollar Tree just keeps getting better greenery in. From when I started my channel till now, I'm just really impressed with how much better they all look. I probably could have got away with 2, but since I had 3, I'm going to go ahead and use 3, make it really full. If you have any leaves that are bent, heat gun is great for ironing those out really easily. And how easy was that to put together? It was really fun. Neutral fall colors with the yellow eucalyptus, the brown rope, and then we also have like the brown leather pumpkin there on the front. Really cute for fall decor, and I really love this. I think it's so pretty, and as you can see, it's pretty large. Hey guys, have you joined my private Facebook group yet? I have it linked in the description of this video. You'll find out when I post new content. You can see what everyone's been making. I also have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. My handle on everything is Crafty Beach on YouTube. Now up next, I have more neutral fall DIYs that I did on my channel last year. Now the next DIY, I picked up these wood beads at Dollar Tree, and these are the chunky cube ones. And I'll show you in a minute why I wanted the cube ones instead of the round ones, but you could probably do it with the round ones as well. What I wanted to do was to do a really fun, like neutral burlap pumpkin with some raw wood beads on there. So I just cut some Dollar Tree burlap down larger than I need for my little pumpkin sign. And I had a scrap piece that was going to work perfect for this. The only thing is you really do kind of have to iron it to be able to work with it because the way that they roll it up, it's just a little bit all bent up and it makes it a little bit harder to work with. So I just give it a quick iron with my Cricut Easy Press, and then I'm just going to leave it as a rectangle, trim it up later, but for now I can go ahead and attach that to the wood pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and leave the little hanger on that. Maybe we can go ahead and save that. And I'm going to connect the burlap to the pumpkin sign with Mod Podge. I like to use Mod Podge for burlap. I do a nice thick layer since it is fabric. You know, it's going to be kind of heavier. And it does a pretty good job of drying clear if it does seep through the burlap a little bit. And I just smooth the burlap out. I'm not too concerned with the pumpkin stem because I want to do something different for that one. But then I just use like a dry paper towel just to like kind of spread that out, make sure it is good and attached. I'm going to go ahead and trim the burlap down to size. I didn't really even wait for it to dry, but it was good enough to kind of keep it in place. Now, this is so easy with this shape. It's not an intricate shape like the leaf that we did earlier and stuff like that. Kind of like just cutting around a circle. The only tricky parts are like up here when you kind of get around the pumpkin stem and stuff like that. I was kind of cutting it around it, and then I remembered that I was going to do something different for the pumpkin stem anyway, so no need. So once I get it on there, then you can just kind of trim up any loose parts. The burlap's always going to have a little bit of raveling around the edges, but this one actually looks pretty good. And make sure all of your edges are glued down. Now for the pumpkin stem, I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm just going to start here on the base on the back, hot gluing that to it, wrapping it around, and only hot gluing when I really need to. You are going around like a little bend there in the pumpkin stem, so it does make it a little tricky to wrap it, but I just kind of wrap as much as I can in one direction, and then if I have some areas that I need to skip, I do, and I can always go back and fill those in. Now, when you get to the tip of it like this, you just kind of have to hot glue it. I want to cover up like all of the wood part there too, though. But again, I'm not cutting my twine at this point. I'm just kind of leaving it all connected, just trying to get that finished where it looks nice. And then I can kind of go back and fill in any of the empty like triangular sections there with more twine, wrapping it around until it's nice and full. We're going to hot glue it back to the base and trim off the excess. Now, the reason I got the cube shape would-be garlands, you don't really get a whole lot on a string from the Dollar Tree. But the reason I did is because they're flat, so it would be really kind of serve the same purpose like if you were going to do the wood half beads. I do get those sometimes on Amazon, but this is another option. This is something from the Dollar Tree that you can use where you can glue something flat to it. I have done this with the round beads too, though, from the Dollar Tree, and it does work, but I thought this would look cool. It's going to make it look really chunky. I'm leaving them the natural wood color. And the first step is just going around in an oval shape, using the bottom to know where you want that oval shape of the pumpkin, the different sections to go. And I just kind of hot glue a section at a time, trying to kind of guess where that would be. And mine was like almost long enough to make it around it was like one bead short here at the top, but we can always just fill that in. And I did end up using all 3 packages of the wood cube for this size pumpkin. And I just go ahead and leave them strung like that, hot gluing that down, trying to make my shape look a little bit better, and then just filling in my gap with one more of the little cube-shaped wood beads. Now we're going to start here on the other side. They are kind of tied off with like the string tied around the wood bead. So I just kind of glue that part down to the burlap so you can't really see it. Just saves a step. And whenever you are gluing them on and they're all strung together like this, it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm just doing like a C shape here for the left side. And then gluing that down. I'm not going to bother tying that off or anything like that. I thought I had maybe one too many, so I did take one off there at the bottom and then trim off the twine. Here is the 3rd package. That's what I'm talking about. You don't really get very many on these. They used to give you more. And then we're just going to do like the reverse C shape here on this side. And I really like the twine, the burlap, and the raw wood on the beads. I think they all work really nice together for a fun neutral color scheme. Just trying to get this as tight and rounded as I can. And if I don't have any of the wood beads glued down, I also go in and touch that up as well. Now I wanted to dress this up a little bit. I didn't really want to put anything on the burlap part of the pumpkin though. I think that looks really cool, but I did want to dress up the top of the pumpkin stem a little bit. So I kind of wanted neutral color, so I thought like these little burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree would work if they were way smaller. So I'm just actually going to cut the top part off to make some small leaves. I thought I was going to use green and tan. I ended up only using tan just because I didn't have as much room on there as I thought. So I just kind of trimmed them down to make them look like a little fall leaf. And then I am just going to hot glue that on here, right there in that gap. It kind of fills in the gap between the wood beads. And then the other side, instead of doing a leaf, I am just going to do some wired jute instead. We can just do a little bit of a curly tendril. And I just do that by wrapping that real quick. And you have to be careful you don't work with this too much though, because it does definitely come off the wire. I just trimmed mine down and then hot glue it right there to the top. And then as you can see, I kind of left the end all jagged like that, just so I can do a quick trim at the end. And I just trimmed that down to size. And that is how this DIY turned out. This is a nice burlap neutral color of fall pumpkin. And this is how it looks hanging in my house. I really like all the different colors of tan and brown and all the different materials that we use today. I think they look really good. You'll have to let me know in the comments below which one of these DIYs was your favorite. And this is this one. Hey guys, have you visited my new website yet? It is craftybeach.net. It's a blog where I'm going to archive all my YouTube videos and crafts that I do for you here. And when you visit, you'll see my most recent content first. I'm still a little bit behind, but I am getting caught up. But you will see a blog post. You can click on like the photo to go to the blog. You might have to hit close if an ad pops up, but then you will go, there'll be lots of photos of everything that I made in that video. You can pin those on Pinterest easily so you can remember to go back and make that DIY. I also have the YouTube video included down below to find out how I make them. I'm going to have everything organized by season. I started this spring, so I'm getting quite a few on there. I also have links to my Amazon shop for products that I use in my videos that I don't get at Dollar Tree. And so that is super convenient on there. I even have a link to my Etsy store for those fun crafting and meme printables that you guys love so much. Be sure to check that out. I do run lots of sales over there. I have so many fun crafting images, and you can use those for commercial use as well. So craftybeach.net is the name of my website. Be sure to check it out. I'm really excited to bring this to you. Okay, next DIY, I picked up one of these little tinsel acorns at Dollar Tree. You guys know I love to remake the tinsel projects from Dollar Tree and make them look really nice. So that's what we're going to do with this one. First step is just to trim off all the tinsel. I like to just cut mine off right at the center, and then it all easily comes off. You don't have to worry about anything else. Now this top piece was kind of sideways. It kind of threw me for a loop there, but same thing. Just trimming that all off. And when you are removing the tinsel from one of these projects, it is going to make a mess. As you can see, all the little tinsel stuff left behind. Gonna go ahead and cut off the hanger. Definitely don't want the yellow ribbon on there. And my trick to cleaning this up is just a Dollar Tree lint roller. Picks up that stuff perfectly. Now to cover this, I kind of wanted a seagrass look. So I'm gonna use these little spring bags from the Dollar Tree. My Dollar Tree still have these. I like to pick them up. I craft with these all the time. I think they look great for coastal decor, but they also look great for neutral decor like this. The only thing is they have a little flower on them. You could also do this DIY with the Dollar Tree sun hat, but I'll show you why I chose the bag on this one. I just cut off the part with the flower, and I'm not really going to need most of the back on this one, and I'm definitely not going to need the bottom because I want it to kind of fit around the acorn just like this. And look how it's the perfect size to go with the creases on the side of the bag and everything. The only thing is it doesn't cover the entire acorn. I'm going to do something different for the acorn cap, but that's why I ended up having to use 2 bags because it wasn't quite big enough. I am going to trim off the excess fabric on the back. I just need enough that I can wrap it around the cage of it, and I'm leaving the little tabs on the sides because they're not really going to interfere. So to start with, I just kind of hot glue it to the cage up here at the top so it'll stay in place. Wrapping it around those little tabs on the side, and then I am just going to hot glue that seagrass material onto the cage. It does kind of like to fall apart between the seams a little bit, but I thought it would be easier to work with it a whole piece at a time like this than to taking it apart and winding it. And so that looks pretty good. I am going to secure it here at the bottom. Now, when you start your next bag, you're not going to want to overlap too much. Otherwise, you're going to get a ridge. I was hoping I could use the back, but It was not quite wide enough, so that's okay. We will just use another one of these little Dollar Tree bags for this. And I'm just going to cut off the flower part this time because I don't really need that part. And then I'm just going to cut out a strip that's going to be big enough to go on the bottom of the acorn. I hope I get my acorns and pine cones right in this video because I called pine cones acorns in a video over and over when I was doing a voiceover this late at night, and I got called out for it a million times. I went in and tried to change it, and there's no changing it once it's up, but I did change the subtitles. So that's a fun fact. Now, I just glued that on, overlapping it. Again, you don't want to overlap it too thick. You just want to make sure that you can't see between the different layers. And then it's a little trickier to glue this part. You just want to glue it tight against the cage as you can get. And then you can always trim off the excess material. And, you know, the cage is kind of like a yellowish greenish color, but it's not visible or anything like that. I think it's a light enough color that you don't have to really worry about that because you can, of course, see through this material. And then I'm just going to do the same thing here on the other side. Hot gluing that down and trimming off the excess. Now that part of the acorn is complete, and I think it turned out really well. Now I want to stick with neutral colors and something fun for the acorn cap. Maybe not quite as detailed as the pine cone scales, but I thought Dollar Tree rope would work. So that's what we're going to use. I thought maybe the little tabs on the side of the pumpkin stem might get in the way, so I did trim those off. And I did end up kind of trimming the top ones. You'll see here in a minute. I kind of thought maybe you could see them. So again, I'm using the thinner Dollar Tree rope on this one. And I am just going to cut off one piece for each part of the acorn cap. It's actually kind of big and it like kind of goes up and curves over. So it was a little tricky doing this part, but I'll show you how I did it. So I just cut one of the ropes down to size. That's going to kind of overlap the sides of the acorn because of course I want that to stick out a little bit. And with the second row, I can do the same thing about the same size. But as you can see, once I get past there, I'm not going to be able to do them that wide. Otherwise, it's not going to fit in that part of the acorn cap. So I'm just going to have to make it shorter by making it shorter on both sides. So I just start where I think I need to and then glue that, cut this side shorter as well. So it'll kind of nest and fit in there. I'm going to repeat that here with this one, and I'm actually going to have room for like a third row before we finish this section of the acorn cap. And I'm going to leave that last section, the middle section between the two parts for the end. That part right there. So I just start here on the back, and I just started gluing it to the tabs to try to cover those up. And again, I'm just going to go side to side. We'll also be covering the little hanger there so that we can make this little acorn a hanging sign too. And then I'm just going to keep gluing rope till we get to that center part. Now my camera does die here in a second, which means I've been crafting this project for 30 minutes. My camera dies at 30 minutes. And so that's kind of a time estimate of how long I spent on this. Now I got that all filled in, and then I went over that middle section with a piece of rope that stuck out a little bit more because it's kind of arched there at the top, and it's going to cover up all the plastic cage. And again, on this part, I didn't really have enough room, so I did have to start shortening them the higher that I went on here. But you could do the rope all the way around, but I think this way was actually easier. So that's where my camera died. You can see that I finished it up and I did the additional piece of rope on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and take some twine to make a new hanger while I can still get to that little hole in the acorn stem. And then we're just going to wrap that with rope too, just to stay consistent with texture and color on this. And I just do that by hot gluing that, and we're just going to wrap this. With the complicated shape of the acorn cap, I really think that you have to cut all the individual pieces down like I did, because I don't think wrapping it would really work. So I just wrap that all the way around and hot gluing that to itself. Now, I thought this looked really cool and very neutral, but I thought it also looked a little bit plain. So I'll show you how I fix that in here in just a second. First thing, whenever I do a rope project, I love to burn the fuzzies off just to clean it up, get rid of any of the crazy strings that are like all around. Now, I thought you might be able to see the top of these little plastic pins that are sticking out. So I did trim mine off. I did try to cover that just to avoid having to do this, but I could still kind of get to them. So I'm just going to give them a quick trim just to make sure that you can't see anything hanging out at the top. So that's what it looks like plain. I love the colors. I love the different textures, but again, I thought it was a little plain. I thought it needed a word. So these are the little leather fall words from the Dollar Tree. This one says blessed, and so I'm just going to hot glue that right to the front. And the colors work well together. It was really easy to attach to that. And I think that was the perfect final step for this little acorn DIY. And definitely a very neutral color scheme, and I think it turned out really beautiful. This is how it turned out. I am glad that I decided to use the rope for the acorn cap. I think that worked well, and I really love the little purse from the Dollar Tree for the texture there on the acorn. You could also use the hat, but you would probably have to take it apart row by row to do it that way. But I think it turned out pretty cute. What do you think? I'm going to use this little wood leaf sign that I got at Dollar Tree and try to remake it. It does have a monogram on them, which is totally not my monogram, so we're going to DIY this. Make it into a neutral fall decor. Now, I thought that wallpaper of the fall leaves on it was kind of busy and that you might be able to see it even through the burlap bag that I'm going to use that has a backing on it. So the first step was just to try to mask that. So I just went over the front of the fall leaf. It's like a chunky leaf. It stands up on its own with just some white acrylic. I probably used a little bit too much paint, and that did cause it to kind of drip down the sides there on the top where I couldn't really see it. I did discover it though, but I really couldn't clean it up. It's on that like MDF material, so that's okay. I had to do something with it at that point. I didn't really want to paint it, but I thought we could hide it if we kind of looked like we did it on purpose. So we are just going to distress white all along the sides. It's totally going to go with everything, and it's just going to make it look a little bit more decorative. I do want some of the brown to show through for sure, though. So I'm just using a chunky brush from Dollar Tree and just distressing all around just to kind of fix that. And try not to get paint everywhere. And I think that's going to do a good job, though, of masking it so you won't be able to see that design through it. Now, for the word that I want to add to the little fall leaf, I'm going to use one of these little wood Hello Fall signs from the Dollar Tree. And I just stained it with some antique wax by Waverly, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe so it's not too dark. And then I'm going to use one of these burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. I love crafting with these. I just can't seem to not get paint on the back of this sign, but that's okay. I cleaned it up a little bit. Now I'm just going to lay it flat down against the back like that because I don't want like a mirror cut or anything like that. I want an exact cut so I'll be able to get it to fit on there. And then I just used a Sharpie to trace it out. I tried to use like a bronze color, so if I got any on there, it wouldn't be real obvious, but the Sharpie was a little hard to get in the little areas, especially that one. So I do have to kind of go back with an ink pen to kind of get in there, but I just wanted to draw it out so that I can cut it down to size perfectly. So this is just in half of one of these little bags that I had left over because I craft with these all the time. I love them because they don't fray. You're going to get the look of burlap. And they have this plastic coating on the back so you can totally draw on it, cut things down to size. And you can see how easily this cuts out, especially with like an intricate pattern like this. Like if I were using like the real burlap, there's like no way I would be able to cut out like a perfect leaf shape like this. So just going around all the different curves of our little maple leaf and cutting that down to size. Now, it does have a plastic backing on it, but you can still Mod Podge it down. And that's what I'm going to do because I don't want hot glue. Hot glue might cause some ridges and stuff in that and melt the plastic on the back of the burlap. So I think Mod Podge is going to work, but you do have to kind of do a fairly thick layer. So I just use some Dollar Tree matte Mod Podge, smoothing that all out, and then laying our little burlap leaf right on top. Now this is going to kind of sit like at an angle like that. That's how it stands on its own. So I got to remember that before I add the word. And then I'm just going to hot glue on the little stained Hello Fall word, just to give it a little bit more personality. Now I thought it needed one more thing. So I picked up some of these little laser cut leaves from the Dollar Tree. And I thought this one would be perfect. It's like a variety of different kinds of leaves. It fits in perfectly. It's brown, so it kind of matches like what we stained the Hello Fall for. I just have to figure out which way I want it on there, and I think I like that. So I just hot glue it on. Now I like the brown color. It matches, but it is kind of obvious that it's kind of that like cardboardy material. So I'm just gonna do a very, very minor faux like wood grain stain with some antique wax by Waverly and a chunky brush, just very lightly, giving it a little bit of a wood grain, and it's going to make it look like it's the same material that the Hello Fall is made out of, like it's made out of wood. And this is how it turned out, our little burlap Hello Fall leaf. Again, this is a nice small size, so this would be a really cute DIY for your fall tier tray, or basically anywhere that you want a little bit of fall. I really like the texture of the burlap on there, and the distressing on the sides actually looks pretty cool too. So a fun little Hello Fall leaf. And you've made it all the way to the final reveal. Thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to leave a comment in the comments below of your favorite DIY in today's video, or just come say hello. I love reading all of your comments. And enjoy the final reveal of all 7 neutral fall DIYs.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are...
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my Crafty Beach Bum members for supporting my channel here on YouTube. Thanks so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Janae Farrington, Julie Miller, Pamelia Wren, Maria Grace, Donna Schreiner, Sandy C., Live Another Day, Tracy Wooldridge, Marin Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Vicki Connors, Adrian Brolt, Deborah Caldwell, and Red Mama. If you'd like to become a Crafty Beach Fun member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. It's $4.99 a month. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos here on YouTube, and you're free to cancel at any time. Would you like more crafting DIYs? I have more Dollar Tree DIY ideas that you might love right here. And until next time, happy crafting!